The original idea for the long game was to be told from Adam's perspective. The adventure would have unfolded from his point of view, quite similar to Rose Tyler in Rose, with the Doctor and Rose being enigmatic characters from Adam's perspective. The working titles for the episode were going to be Adam, and later evolved into The Companion Who Couldn't, but eventually they settled on The Long Game. Now, according to Russell T Davies, the concept of The Long Game was originally written in the early 1980s and submitted to the Doctor Who production office at the time. Whether it was ever read by the production team, it's unknown to this day, but he did receive a rejection from the BBC script unit, who advised him to write more realistic television about a man and his mortgage instead. Like that ever stopped him. Eventually, Davies reworked the story for the new series. According to the DVD commentary for the episode, director Brian Grant and Bruno Langley referred to an additional motivation for Adam's actions in the episode. In earlier drafts of the script, Adam's father would have suffered from arthritis that would have been incurable in 2012, and Adam would have hoped to have learned a cure which would have been discovered between 2012 and the year 200,000. This motivation is nowhere to be seen in the finished programme, sadly. Simon Pegg was cast as the editor and considered it an honour to be part of Doctor Who, having been a huge fan since childhood. But during filming he struggled to say the mighty Jagrafess of the Holy Hadragesic Maxaredan foe. Don't know why he's complaining, that was easy peasy for me. Filming in the studio took place at the Unit Q2 warehouse in Newport in December 2004, with the Spike Room set, the Control Room set and Adam's home being filmed at the former BT building in Croydon, Cardiff, from 6th of December to the 9th in 2004. The Jagrafess was entirely made of CGI and animated by the mill, with the description of the script describing it as a lump of meat on the ceiling. The episode starts with the Doctor, Rose and Adam arriving on Satellite 5 in the year 200,000. Satellite 5 is a massive transmitter that broadcasts news across planet Earth. A reporter named Kafika leads them to a room where she sits in a chair with news directed into her brain that they transmit across Earth's fourth great and bountiful human empire. The Doctor believes a malevolent purpose is at hand, with a few employees selected to Floor 500, but they never return due to the promise of a promotion. Adam discovers he can gain access to information about Earth's future and has a chip installed in his brain that he plans to send home to the present day, effectively changing history. If I could describe The Long Game in a nutshell, it would be good ideas but unfulfilling. Now, there is stuff I do like in this episode. The main thing I like is the satire of the media and the news, such as how it can be manipulated and the reliability of the media and evidence that they provide to a mass audience. It's a good idea, and there are even suggestions of how fake news can hinder our development. For example, the Doctor believes that technology used in this time is wrong, because for 91 years Satellite 5 has been transmitting news, so obviously the two must be connected. The editor even mentions how important media is. It can cripple an economy, change a vote, keep immigration out, etc. It all works in their favour because they're breeding a human race that won't bother to ask questions. It reminded me a bit of the 1985 story Vengeance on Varos, which was about how showing torture and violence distracts society from rebelling against the government. These ideas are pretty good and all, but the problem is I don't think it amounts to much as an overall story here. There just seems to be a lack of palpable threat for me. It's all exposition that seems like it's going to give us something interesting, but the episode is over just as these themes have been introduced. Think of it this way, it's like getting all the ingredients for an absolutely delicious cake. Ingredients are right, you've baked it to perfection, and you've decorated it with icing that will give it a bit more substance in its taste. The only problem is, you're not allowed to eat it. That's a weird metaphor, I know, but that's how I mainly feel about this episode. Christopher Eccleston, I feel, kind of struggled to shine this episode. Don't get me wrong, he was great as usual, and I feel like I'm repeating myself here. He wasn't terrible, and I felt he was doing the best with what he was given. However, I felt he was only there just to spout exposition. Now, I know the Doctor as a character is supposed to be there for the viewers to understand what's going on, but when that's all the character is there for and not much else, I think the actor and the character will struggle to shine. However, my Christopher Eccleston moment of the week comes at the ending when he takes Adam home. Firstly, his walk towards Adam waiting at the TARDIS is pretty intimidating. There's a subtle hint there of what could happen if you break any of the Doctor's rules. When he does leave Adam, you can tell there's so much disappointment and annoyance in his voice, since he attempted to change history, which is a big no-no for the Doctor.
You can't rewrite history, not one line!
So while I do enjoy that moment and the Doctor in general, I think there wasn't much for Eccleston to work with here, other than to just spout exposition. As for the companions, we have Rose and new companion Adam in tow. First of all, let's talk about Rose. I really don't have much to say about her, because I felt she had nothing to do. Billie Piper is great this episode, she does the best with what she's given, but there's really no good or bad moments I can think of her in this episode. She doesn't have much of a presence, she's just sort of there. Now for Adam. This episode aims to test him out as a companion to see if he's worthy or if he'll fall. Short answer, he falls. Long answer again, it's underdeveloped. A companion falling out of the Doctor's good graces is an interesting idea. Usually when companions leave, it's because, oh, I'm home again, or I've fallen in love with someone. Now the closest we've got to a companion almost being a villain or antagonistic is probably Turlough, who started out to assassinate the Doctor, but was able to move on from that mission. The problem is, we've barely gotten to know Adam. All we know about him is that he's a boy genius, he wants to see the stars, and he's British? Seriously, that's all I can think of. Now, I do quite like the fish out of water story he does go through. He was born clever and is such a boy genius, yet finds the whole experience to be overwhelming. But again, it was underdeveloped. As I mentioned in my History of Production section, the original script had Adam looking for a cure for arthritis that would have been cured for his dad by the year 200,000. Why this was cut, I really don't know, cause it gives Adam a motivation for sending all this information back into the past. What he's doing is wrong, yes, but with that motivation he could have made the argument that the end justified the means. Plus, this is his first trip in the TARDIS, and the Doctor has told him everything, such as being the last of the Time Lords. I bring this up as when Adam activates his chip, the editor is able to know everything about the Doctor through Adam. Seems a bit of a convenience there in order to artificially raise the stakes. Furthermore, isn't leaving him on Earth with a head-opening chip that's activated with a click of the fingers rather dangerous? Now I know the Doctor at the end tells him to stay out of trouble, lead a quiet life, but he can't guarantee that. Heck, his mum finds out on the off chance when she sees Adam again and clicks his fingers right in front of him. I mean, I find it a bit hypocritical of the Doctor to abandon Adam because he was sending information from the future to the present, but you've left walking, breathing evidence about this technology on 21st century Earth. Now I know some of you are going to be commenting down there, the Doctor lies, and if you are going to comment that, please stop. As for the supporting cast, again, mixed bag for me, but let's start with easily the best guest star in this episode, Simon Pegg as the editor. I feel that this is the only element of the episode that lived to its full potential. Pegg takes every line and gives it such personality. He's able to be a threatening presence, but also have an underlying wit to his character. He can genuinely be scary when he denounces Suki as a liar, and even when he says the Doctor is no fun. There's an underline of philosophy there, as he expected a bit more of a debate from the Doctor. The fact that he can go from giggling with glee 1 minute to having such authority and power the next is a testament to how much of a great actor I think Simon Pegg is. Plus also, he's another dig at capitalism because he mentions in the episode representing a consortium of banks. So we have another villain that's motivated by money. The variation here is off the charts. We also have Kafka, played by Christine Adams. Again, I just feel she's used as a plot device, only there to show how Satellite 5 is manipulating the media that is holding back humanity. The only trait I can remember is that she wants a promotion. That's about it. While I do like her in the climax of helping the Doctor defeat the Jagrafess and look beyond all the fake news she's been fed, again it just kind of feels underdeveloped. The same can be said for Suki, played by Anna Maxwell Martin. Performance is fine and all, but her twist of being an undercover agent is as quickly forgotten about as soon as it's discovered. While I commend the actors for trying, the characterisation is sadly lacking, and with the exception of Simon Pegg, you forget about them as soon as the episode is all over. From a production standpoint, the episode is fine and all. I like the industrial and rustic look of Floor 139, it genuinely does look like a proper workplace in the future. Floor 500 looks good as well, you do feel like you've stepped into a cold location. But the problem I have with this is the old show don't tell rule. We're constantly told that the Earth is now at its height of power, with a population of over 96 billion and the centre of a massive empire and having massive cities across the globe. Now I appreciate trying to give the episode more scale, but when you've got a location an episode as lacking as this, I'd much rather be on the Earth you've described than the news station we're stuck with. It's like trying to get into a sweet shop, but it's locked. As for the Jagrafess itself, again, the design for me just feels bland and uninspired. It's just a huge blob on the ceiling. It could have been something a bit more inventive, like have corrupt humans be the villain here. It would have made a change from having the usual BEMs. For those of you that don't know what BEM stands for, it's for Bug-Eyed Monsters, something Sidney Newman, the co-creator of Doctor Who, didn't approve of. But he only created the series we know and love, so what would he know? So, to conclude, The Long Game has good ideas and all, but they sadly don't amount to much. Characterization is bland, as well as the monster. Its concepts feel rushed and underdeveloped. Maybe if this was a two-parter, then the potential could have been fulfilled. This episode honestly felt like a filler episode. It's almost like they were missing an episode block and Russell dug this out of his cupboard for a spare. And while I can appreciate what it's trying to do, The Long Game as an episode sadly feels unfulfilled in its potential. Well everyone, that's all from me. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of The Long Game, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.